to carefully consider before boldly boasting about following him. And Jesus does so in his usual way, by using a current event in which all his hearers would have known about. They would have recognized this teaching and gone, oh yeah, I got that. I know what Jesus is talking about when he says that we need to carefully consider following him. And so Jesus gives us two examples. And so when I've always read this passage of Scripture, even when I was younger, or when I was in Sunday school, and they talk about the story of the two towers and of the tower and the kings, I'm always just curious as to why Jesus decided to use these two examples. Why the construction of a tower? Why a king going off to war against another king? How does this cause us to carefully consider why we need to think about before we become disciples of Christ? And so I did a little digging, which is something I always like to do. Sometimes that also gets me in trouble because it puts me down the rabbit hole further than I want to go. And so the reason why Jesus first mentions the tower is because this teaching, this example was really fresh in the minds of the people who were following him. And it is because some scholars believe that at the time Jesus was ministering, there was a man named Pontius Pilate. Everybody knows who Pontius Pilate is. He was the Roman governor of Judea. And part of Pontius Pilate's duty was to see the protection, the compliance, and the collection of taxes for Rome. So his job was to make sure that Judea was secure and that Rome's interests in the region were being favored. And so part of his job as governor was to oversee the security. And one of the things scholars like to point out is that part of being a governor is you have to take on a certain building projects. Building projects either to help those that you are overseeing, i.e. the people of Jerusalem, or things in which you can secure this region. And so one of the things that they believe Pilate did was he was going to build a tower. Some also think it might have been an aqueduct to bring water into the city. Either way, he was going to build something. And so Pilate actually begins to build. Pilate lays the foundations. Pilate begins to erect the tower of stone. And yet, as he continued going, there came to be a little bit of a problem. He began to run out of money. You see, Pilate didn't really think about what it would cost to build the tower. He didn't think about how much it was going to cost him to lay the foundations and begin to erecting the stone layer upon stone layer to make this mighty tower of his. And he ended up running out of money before it stopped. Well, sorry, before he could finish it. Now this made Pilate look a little foolish. Because now all the people in Judea were looking at the governor, the most powerful Roman person in that area, and they laughed at him, saying, look at this man. He thought he could build something, and he ran out of money. What a fool. Didn't consider the cost. So Pilate couldn't finish it. And now it's believed, because Pilate looked like a fool, that Pilate tried to do something even more foolish. Was that he wanted to cover up his shame by actually finishing the tower. And so what he tried to do was, when he had run out of money, he tried to seize the temple's treasury so that he could bolster his resources and finish his project. So he would no longer be ridiculed, no longer laughed at. But the problem is the precarious position that Pilate was in. By trying to seize the temple's treasure, he almost caused the people of Judea to riot against him. And one of the things Pilate was given charge over was, hey, they've been a problem for us. Don't make them be a problem again. And so Pilate realized that he couldn't do this, and so he stopped. And because he stopped and was looked even more of a fool because he was trying to get the temple's treasury, he caused a small riot. Pilate looked like an even more foolish leader. And so everyone in Judea knew how big of a mistake Pilate had made. That he did not carefully consider the cost of building his tower, and as a result, he kind of became the punchline of jokes. So when Jesus says, suppose that you want to build a tower, the people who hearing his teaching go, he's talking about Pilate. The man who couldn't finish what he started. So when they hear that teaching, they realize that, oh, we need to consider the cost. What is it going to take for us to be followers of Christ? If we start on this journey of following him, are we able to finish it? Are we able to follow him until it is completed? Whatever it may be. Or are we not going to consider the cost and kind of look like a fool like Pilate did, who started to build something and ran out of money and he couldn't finish it? So that's the first example of what it means to consider the cost. Now, the second example Jesus used turns out to be another current event for people of Judea. He used this example for them to better understand the importance of really considering the cost before you do something. And so he uses that of a king with an army of 10,000 going against a king who has 20,000. And guess who this example of that Jesus is making? It's not Pilate. It's actually King Herod, the Tetrarch, otherwise known as Herod Antipas. You see, this is what happened. You see, King Herod wanted a divorce. He wanted to divorce his first wife in order to marry